Where am I? Isn't that Dr. Eggman? Maybe he can tell me about those black creatures.
Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm of course from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos of course. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Shadow the Hedgehog from the Nintendo GameCube, PlayStation 2, and of course Xbox. So, last time we actually did manage to completely done with most of every single missions in Prison Island on the very first Stage 3 levels of all this entirety of the game, and today for this episode is the fact that, as you can see, we are now going to be exploring through Stage 3B, in this case another one of those Stage 3 levels, and this one is actually based off from almost like a Halloween theme. As you can see, we are now going to be exploring through Cryptic Castle. In order to actually access to this level though, is the fact that you have to go through either those two levels between Glyphic Canyon and especially noticeable with Digital Circuit, but you have to do it within the Dark Missions, buddy forms of both stages, because obviously this stage usually takes place in somewhat of a Halloween themed. So obviously, if you couldn't tell, that had the fact that we're going to be still doing the usual 3 missions at a time. So naturally, once again, I'm going to go for the normal mission, neutral mission, and then at the same time, we'll save up for the hero missions and the dark missions later on. So naturally speaking, that today was actually by the forms of the fact that today was actually by the forms of the 12th of March. So naturally, we've only got ourselves about like a few more days to go. Oh, there's one thing I forgot, actually, is of course the missions to discuss.
Please, you've got to find Cream.
I've got to get out of this castle first.
Light the fires on the giant lanterns.
Alright, so much like in Leave Your Highways, the fact that there is actually a gold ring to be signed around here, but there is no Chaos Emerald to be found here. So naturally though, I believe there's going to be the upcoming event after the entirety of Cryptic Castle, which depends on what mission you're going to go for. Well, I believe we might actually get ourselves our next boss coming up, so because of that though, we'll mention more on that as soon as we're able to get to that. So, and plus, that this is actually the first time we're going to be seeing Dr. Eggman in this game, after about, I would say 5 stages after that, because this is actually a 6th stage we're about to be doing at this point. Well, in terms of the actual game of Shadow the Hedgehog, so naturally, because you have to like, you know, replay the game several times in order to actually just to reach the final story or something like that, which I found is extremely underwhelming and tedious at times, because either way, if you really want to find yourselves your true identity, well, again, you have to be able to replay the game 10 times in order to actually just to see what the true identity of the forms of what Shadow's past has been revealed and all that stuff. So, yeah, I found it kind of a little bit more jumbled up mess. At least even then though, that just like in Sonic 06, that in Sonic 06 also has a pretty terrible storyline and all that stuff because of the actual like complications with the forms of time traveling aspect, and that's just how I figure it is when it comes to like messing up these storylines entirely, because either way, that just feels kind of messed up at points. So yeah, that's just how I figure it is. So the main gimmick of the forms of Cryptic Castle, as you can see right there, is the fact that some of these little lanterns will actually require you to be able to light them in order to actually access to new areas. Meaning about the fact that there's going to be some times about the fact that when we get to the Dark Mission though, specifically for Dr. Eggman, that there's actually that one mission that we have to able to deal with, but we'll mention more on that after we're able to deal with well, both missions first, which consist of the normal neutral mission and especially noticeable with the hero mission. So because of that, well, we'll save that for later. So naturally speaking, this level is so similar to me though by the forms of the Hang Castle level from Sonic Heroes, and especially with Mystic Mansion, although the noticeable differences is obviously we don't have to rely on these actual, you know, these little gravity switches that you have to like keep on going from different gravity and stuff like that. But that's no longer a thing on this particular level. So yeah, because of that though, then you know. So yeah, for this particular ending portion right there, that there's actually 3 different routes you can take. It depends on what mission you're going for. That if you go onto the left door, this will actually lead you to the continuation of the dark mission. But in order to actually get to that door, well, I'll mention more on that later. Because of that, I'm gonna take the normal middle pathway, which this way, it will actually lead me to the actual rail grinding segment, while at the same time, we have to be getting chased by the forms of that giant monster behind us, which I will admit though right away, he's not that much of a challenge to me though either way, although there's actually a key the key right there, but honestly, I don't think I can able to go after that. So yeah, that's about it for the normal mission. So again, take the central route and then you would find it.
The doctor's gotta be this way.
Alright, so now we have to replay the level twice, or in this case for a second time, to do, what else? A hero mission.
Oh, Shadow, I'm so glad you're here. Cream went into this weird-looking castle and she hasn't come back out. Can you go in there with me to look for her?
Alright, so the hero mission in the forms of Cryptic Castle is the fact that Amy Rose is now joining in. So because of that, this time around though, we need to find that particular character by the forms of this particular level. And as you can see on the actual, the actual head, this is actually kind of familiar if you ever played Sonic Advance 2, and especially noticeable with Sonic Heroes and Sonic Advance 3, we have to find Cream the Rabbit. So naturally, she might be hidden around here, but as you can clearly tell by the forms of the actual mission it trying to tell you, that we need to find two parts of it, meaning the fact that not only do we need to find Cream the Rabbit, but also her companion as well, by the forms of Cheese the Chow, because of how the fact that if you couldn't tell by the forms of the actual knowledge, of ever since in Sonic Advance 2, or Sonic Heroes for that matter, or even in this case, Sonic Advance 3, because, you know, Cream's child companion was obviously Cheese, because, you know, you can also able to follow that up when you ever like watching the actual anime of Sonic X, but normally I never watch that much in comparison to the forms of like, you know, some of these later parts. But anyways, you go here, destroy that left wall, and here we find Cream the Rabbit. Alright, so now we found Cream the Rabbit, and now we need to find the last part by the forms of the hero mission, and that is of course Cheese the Chow. But in order to actually find him though, is the fact that it's actually at the exact same location, as if you couldn't tell already, that well, I'll show you in just a moment after we're able to continue exploring for this kinds of stuff. Even though I'm going to be doing this like 3 times, by the way, within this particular 3 missions in mind. So because of that, though, I'll have to do it 3 times in order to actually just to know of how the mission structure works out to be. So, yeah, to get the idea. So, yeah, I forgot to mention about this actually, with the forms of that specific black creature that we can actually write down. Oh, don't you dare get crushed. Okay, good. Yeah, there's gonna be a weird glitch, well in this case a very bad scenario about the forms of the collision detection, or even the actual like get stuck on the glitch, and sometimes that's how the fact that if you manage to able to actually steer your black creature from either left or right on airborne, the bad thing about that particular section right there, although I will mention about that right away, that you can actually control this thing with your control stick obviously, and also you can actually hold down the A button until you're able to actually go faster, or in this case acceleration. So there's a pretty good way to able to notice that. So and there's also some very familiar bouncy looking skeletons. And Eggman, aren't you supposed to be like, well, not supposed to chat to me? Because I'm actually currently on the hero mission, by the way. Because he just trying to tell you about the fact that where the lanterns are. But again, we'll mention about that after doing with this mission here. So, again, do apologize by the forms of my throat's going on right now, because, to be expected, I ate some chili dogs and what have you, so, yeah, that's as far as it will go. The annoying thing about this level, though, to me, though, sometimes, is the fact, though, as you can see, that sometimes when we actually stumble across these, dead ends and what have you, if you manage to keep a hold of your, matchstick only forms of the actual fire staff of all times, which I'll mention more on that when we get to the dark mission. And as a result though, however though, that you really can't afford to able to lose that weapon until when we get to the dark mission, because for now, at the moment right now, we'll just have to like take care of these Eggman's robots, or in this case, Egg Pawns from Sonic Heroes. So, nice little returning enemies from this point here. But again, you can either homie attack onto them, or in this case, just use the actual guns or what have you. So, yeah, there's a room of a whole bunch of chows, but you want to go onto the room on the right, or the actual door on the right, to able to actually lead you to the conclusion of the hero mission. Because of that, well, sometimes it might be feels a bit too slow with the forms of that specific shifting wall over there, but once it goes nearly towards the end, right there, and you soon to find out there's actually Cheese the Chow right there. So, but again, he's not wandering around, unlike any forms of how it does in the other chows in that one giant room.
If you want to stay clear of trouble, then stay away from that doctor.
So speaking of Dr. Eggman, let's go ahead and be evil for once. Well, we have to work with him to do the dark mission.
Hey, Shadow. Some black creatures have infiltrated my castle. I'd like you to go and light those giant lanterns. They're part of my special defenses.
Alright, so you know the drill. Basically, in the dark mission is the fact that we need to use the fire staff at all times. So that way we could able to actually light out, or in this case, light up not 1, but 5 lanterns. So naturally, well, you've already lightened the first one already from the start, which I believe that's actually the requirement in order to actually proceed. So, but again, it doesn't really matter if you're in the normal mission or the hero mission, because you have to do that at all times if you do the first lantern, because if you don't, then you cannot proceed onwards. So, although I may be wrong, but either way though, that's as far as I will think. So, one thing I should probably mention about this actually is the fact that between these swords, especially the staffs as well, those attempt to break after a while, because this is before when The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, as far as the actual Wii U game / Nintendo Switch game existence, until when it gets to, you know, in 2017, which I know is already becomes a thing, but even then though, that if you manage to keep on using that staff for a long period of time, and even attacking with you know, the enemies, and especially with these cracked walls, which you'll soon to find out in just a moment, that they'll tend to break. So even then though, if it goes down to 0, then your weapon will be broken. So because of that, well, this is a bad example of how the fact that, well, it's nothing terrible bad about it. It's just that it feels kind of a little bit more kind of questionable things, because either way, that's the annoying part about this mission though, especially with the level itself to me though, especially in the dark mission especially, that if you really want to keep your hold of your forms of your fire staff at all times, then you know there's going to be some cracked walls that we need to constantly destroy in order to actually proceed to the actual level, including by the forms of some of these missions themselves, most notably by the forms of the actual, like, you know, the 3-way doorway. So naturally, that, you know, we'll get to that point whenever I get to that point, even though I messed up my jump right there by total complete accident. So, yeah, for whatever reason, if you keep on attacking those egg pawns, or these Eggman's robots, as you can see right there, that somehow it gives you like a dark evil energy, even though despite the fact that Dr. Eggman was pretty much in the forms of how the fact that, well, he pretty much gives you like negative comments, but he forms of how the fact that, well, you know. So yeah, there's another one over there. Usually most of the lanterns in the forms of this particular level is actually not that hard to miss, because obviously because of how the fact that, well, it's pretty hard to miss, because obviously you know, it might be pretty in common when it comes to like going into the actual pumpkin sections, because that's the way how the lanterns were placed. So yeah, you get the idea for that point. So yeah, this is a prime example I was talking about. If you accidentally break the actual, like, the fire staff, and then if you manage to waste it, and whatever you do not even replace the different weapon, because if you do, especially if it consists of body forms of this section right there, after lighting that lantern over there, and basically do not replace that weapon as the Egg Pawn's guns, because if you do, well, you can no longer backtrack for it. So because of that, well, you just have to pay attention to that. So, but again, in order to actually do the dark mission completely, is that we need to light this little giant lantern right there. And then if you go onto the left side of the actual, you know, giant hallway of these chows, then you would able to actually get onto that section, just light those up, and then if you do, then you would able to proceed to, I believe, the final part of the dark mission. Well, at least until then, as it is. But, anywho, though. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention about this actually, because thanks to Comment J64, that he did done the Let's Play of this game back in 2012, that one thing is, I should probably point things out right away, I believe, if you manage to set the blue flame at the chows, well, any kind of chow around it forms of the actual giant hallway of any sort, or the actual giant hall with the chows, basically you can able to actually fill up your evil energy, so meaning about the fact that you can able to actually just do a crime to them. Well, at least because of that usually happens. I haven't really tested it out for myself, but at least somebody already knows about this particular hidden details about that. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff though. So anyways though, let's go ahead and light up the giant lantern right there. I think this is the 5th and final one, and there we go, we are done with the dark mission.
I'm one step closer to getting the truth from the doctor. I will not let him interfere with my plans.
In no time, Buddy informs of how the fact that we are now doing the second boss in the entire game.
Another Chaos Emerald.
What are you doing here, Shadow?
Doctor, I don't want to fight with you, but I need those Chaos Emeralds. They hold the secret to my...
Enough of this nonsense! The Chaos Emeralds belong to me! All of them! No one gets in my way. Those who do will be destroyed. So stand clear or I will crush you! Just as I will those black creatures.
Alrighty folks, now we're moving on to the next boss in Shadow the Hedgehog, and this one is actually by the forms of the Egg Breaker. And this particular boss is very simple and easy, because all you really do is that, depends on what weapons you're going to be handling through, most notably the guns and etc. Well, you can just able to actually shoot at its, you know, its cockpit. So even then though, it's all self-explanatory. But even then though, that's as far as we can go. So, one thing that makes no sense is the fact that if you're doing a dark mission on Cryptic Castle, for whatever reason, you're still about to fight against with him. So, but then again, he's not that much of a challenge, assuming if you're able to use the gun pistol. So, yeah, that concludes this video. So join me next time on Let's Play Shadow the Hedgehog, is that we're about to be now doing the third and the final stage for stage 3.
Sorry, Doctor, but that Chaos Emerald is mine.
Which is, if you couldn't tell, is Circus Park, which is one of my favorite levels of the game. So see you guys then.